In case you haven't noticed, it is hot, and I mean hot right now, and that heat can have detrimental effects on your surveillance efforts. Let's look at how the heat affects you and how you can overcome the heat this summer. Regardless of the temperature, it is fair to say that anytime you are stuck inside a vehicle for long periods, you will find comfort very elusive, and extreme temperatures just make it unbearable and even dangerous on many levels. I was just reading that on average, if it is 80 degrees, just 80 outside, the temperature in a car will be around 123 degrees. And when it soars up to 100 degrees, that oven we call our surveillance vehicle will start baking you at around 143 degrees. I know from experience that this is one of the hardest things to contend with while doing surveillance. Those extreme temperatures affect you physically, mentally, and it even affects your surveillance equipment in a negative way. Your camera batteries or any equipment batteries will discharge much quicker in extreme heat, and overusage in high heat will not only make those batteries discharge quicker, but also negatively affect the overall life of the batteries. And if the batteries discharge fast, well, our first reaction is to recharge the camera's battery while out in the field. But this causes many other issues. You see, when you recharge the battery, it heats up the battery while recharging. You probably have experienced this firsthand when you grab your camera. If it's plugged in, the battery will be a little warm, and that increase in heat will affect how effectively and how quickly your battery can be recharged. The easy way to overcome this is to make sure you carry a spare battery or two that is already charged up. So if your batteries start to die, you can quickly swap the battery out and continue your day. Now, something else you need to check on periodically is your PI insurance policy to make sure it is up to date, and you should consider doing that with the sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. The heat will also affect your video quality in many ways. I have seen those mirage effects many times while out on surveillance in the summer. Usually we see these off in the distance, but you can get them at shorter distances too that will affect your video while on autofocus. You could simply use manual focus, but there is a learning curve with shooting video on manual focus, and some people just plain prefer autofocus. I know I prefer autofocus myself, so I have learned several tricks to help me out with this problem. First off, I make sure my windows are clean on all surveillance jobs regardless of the time of the year or the temperature outside. This should be standard operating procedure for any surveillance investigator, but I have seen plenty of surveillance video in my years with some pretty dirty windows. The second thing I do is I try to keep my camera further away from the window. Then I slowly zoom in on my subject. Then I hit the record button once I am in good focus with him. Starting off with the camera further away from the window allows the camera to focus on the subject as you slowly zoom in, rather than instantly focusing on things on the window like glare, scratches, or other blemishes. This also allows you to be further back from the window, allowing for less light to affect your eyes as you are trying to see that little screen while shooting video. I try to be as close to the middle of my surveillance vehicle at all times when doing surveillance, as this also allows me a greater 360-degree view of what is happening around me. One of the biggest effects surveillance in the heat will have is the effect it has on you physically. It will plain drain your body of all energy pretty fast, but this isn't the biggest thing to worry about. We will cover that in just a moment. The heat will cause several things to happen to your body. First, it will most likely increase your heart rate as your heart is trying to pump more blood through the outer body and your skin to help dissipate the heat. And in doing this, you begin to sweat. And if you are like me, sweat a lot. And this sweat affects you in some other ways, like making your hands and your camera slippery. It also makes your clothes a bit damp too. So when you have to get out and do some foot surveillance, well, you may be dripping wet from head to toe and not even realize it, and this could make you stand out a bit in a crowd. But you can also get what is called heat cramps. I know this has happened to me a lot of times while on surveillance. I get cramps more often in the cold, but it happens in extreme heat too. Then there is heat exhaustion, which can be caused because your body is losing water and salt due to all that excess sweating. And this can lead to a lot of other negative reactions in your body. And if your body struggles to deal with the heat for a long period of time, then hyperthermia can set in. Hyperthermia can quickly lead to many other nasty side effects such as headaches, dizziness, nausea, and other not so pleasant experiences. And this leads to the biggest threat the summer heat has for us while on surveillance. But what can we do about it? We will discuss some remedies to the situation in just a moment. The biggest problem that can arise from excess heat during surveillance on these hot summer days is how it affects us from a mental standpoint. Hyperthermia can also lead to dizziness, visual problems, and even cause us to feel faint or black out. And as you might imagine, if we black out or faint while sitting in a 143-degree car, well, things could go downhill fairly quickly. So we need to do what we can to help ensure we stay safe as well, to help protect our equipment while out on surveillance during these dog days of summer. Really quick, go down in the comments below and let me know what you do to stay cool while out on surveillance in the summer. The first thing you can do is to make sure you plan your surveillance beforehand. I always go out on a pre-surveillance recon run 1 or 2 days before I go out on the actual surveillance. Doing this gives me a good idea of what the neighborhood looks like right now, what vehicles are on the street, how active the neighborhood is, and it allows me to locate potential parking spots for stationary surveillance. Ideally, I would want a location where I can remain as covert as possible and be protected from the elements, like under some trees. But you have to keep the sun's movement in mind too when you identify these locations. A shady spot at 7 a.m. might be nice, but chances are, once midday rolls around, that spot is in full sunlight. So look at potential parking spots from the standpoint of where the sun will be at noon, or 2 or 3 in the afternoon. A good shady spot can lower the outside temperature a good 5 to 10 degrees on most days, and it helps you stay covert. Another thing you should make sure you have is a good portable 12-volt or USB powered fan. You can find lots of these that have various clamps and ways to attach them to things, so you can find a way to position them to blow on you in most situations. If you go to my official website, freeprivateinvestigatortraining.com, and go to the PI gear menu in the top right, you can see all of my surveillance gear, including some of my preferred fan options. While parking in a shady spot and having a fan does help a lot, it's even more helpful if you have some good old washcloths and cold water available. I have found that just wiping my head and my neck and my upper body from time to time with some cool, not necessarily ice cold, but cool water really helps a lot. And if I couple that with a fan blowing on me, it usually does the trick. You can also get a personal space swamp cooler that will blow cool, wet air on you. These are good in drier climates, but not very good in more humid climates. If you use one of these, you also need to have a window opened up a few inches to help that cool air evaporate out so you do not turn the inside of your surveillance vehicle into a sauna. I have seen some portable air conditioners too, but I would be very leery about using one of them due to the power draw. And I have seen kits that you can get to use to retrofit a cooler into a swamp-style personal cooling system too. And then there is the option to just run your car when needed. While this is tempting, and sometimes, well, it's just plain necessary, it does present other issues. The big issue with running your vehicle is the fact that you may jeopardize your ability to stay covert or hidden. Chances are someone, a neighbor, or maybe even your subject will hear the car running. Running your car all of the time in a park situation in the heat of summer also puts some serious stress on the vehicle. It could cause it to overheat. As well, it could easily lower the life of the vehicle. This is one of the biggest reasons that surveillance vehicles tend to not last too long, as I know, especially for me. I don't treat my surveillance vehicles with the best of care. They tend to get used and abused, to be sure. If you sit on surveillance with your vehicle running for 4 hours a day, just 5 days a week, those hot idle run hours are the same as adding several thousand miles in a year, and you don't get to deduct that wear and tear, as it is not actual miles. The biggest thing you need to make sure you do, though, is to make sure you stay aware of the fact that it is dangerous out there doing surveillance in the heat of summer. Make sure you plan to keep your cool, and whenever you can, get out of the car, stretch, get some fresh air, and drink plenty of liquids. Drinking water will go a long way in cooling you down and protecting you against hyperthermia. I usually take sports drinks with me to help reintroduce the electrolytes into my system. Now, talk about staying cool. I want to send out a huge shout out to the channel's premium supporters, Eric Hutchinson with 20 months as a PI Guy premium supporter, and Eric Lewis with his dedicated 10 months as a premium supporter. Thank you so much. And if you would like more information on becoming a channel supporter, click the join button down below. Now, if you would like to know how to stay covert while out there on surveillance, then check out this video.